Good afternoon, British Business Podcast viewers. I'm delighted to welcome Darren Washbourne from Beeswift for another one of our series filmed at the Steam House here at Birmingham City University. Welcome, Darren. Thank you for coming in today.
Good afternoon.
Beeswift. What's Beeswift?
Yeah, so a leading supplier, manufacturer, wholesaler of everything that people know about now, which is PPE, personal protective equipment.
Okay. And how long has Beeswift been trading?
So as a business, so we're owned by a family. We're fourth generation. So the business was founded in the early 80s, and the shareholders today live in California. So they're an American family. It's my boss's great-grandfather who started the business, the original business, which is the Gerber Goldschmidt Group, which was back in 1917, would you believe? So,
1917?
Yeah. So Beeswift,
Wow.
1981, Gerber Goldschmidt, 1917.
Wow. And so the business back then set out to do what?
So the Gerber Goldschmidt Group was importing and exporting. They were originally from South Africa.
Okay.
But they were also investing in other organisations. So in 81, when Beeswift was founded, Beeswift needed some funding locally. It is a Birmingham, Midland-based business. So they took some funding from the Gerber Goldschmidt Group. Gerber then put more funding in 86 when the original founders retired. And from then it's just gone from strength to strength, and they continue to fund and support not just our business, but many different organisations around the world.
Can we go a little bit deeper into Beeswift then, and what it is that it does and how it performs and where its offices are and how it trades and staff?
Yeah, sure. So we've recently relocated. We're based...
From to where?
Yeah, so we were based in West Bromwich.
Okay.
By the West Bromwich Albion football ground.
Okay.
And we've relocated to Aston by the Aston Villa football ground. As a Brummie Villa fan, it suits me. So, so we're a local business, 2 miles from where we are here. We've been involved with the guys here at Steam House as well. So we came varying times during the build. We support the guys on site with workwear. As I said, our business is personal protective equipment. So everybody who would be working downstairs in the workshops would be wearing Beeswift product as well. So we're just trying to support the local community a bit more.
And how many staff does Beeswift have?
150. We've got 2 businesses, Beeswift Limited, which is based, as I say, in Birmingham. And we have a business called Beeswift BV, which is based in the Netherlands in a place called Enschede on the Dutch-German border. So we serve all of the EU from the Netherlands now. And then UK, Ireland, and rest of the world gets served from the Birmingham hub.
Wow. And you personally, your role within Beeswift?
Yeah, so I look after all sales and marketing stuff. So my role, I'm Chief Commercial Officer.
Okay.
I'm the guy who looks after the front end really of the business. So we operate with we have an exec chairman who's based in San Diego. 3 local board directors here. There's my role, there's a CFO, and there's a Chief Operating Officer. Okay.
And you're getting to this position in your life. How long have you been with Beeswift?
5 years with Beeswift.
Okay.
35 years in the PPE trade.
Really?
So I'm getting quite ancient now.
But that's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm guessing, unless you were in that industry, you didn't ever come across PPE as it was titled. Would it have been called something else?
It was, yeah. So the first organisation I worked for, which was the tail end of the 80s, was a safety products manufacturer.
Okay, yeah.
So we called them safety products.
Yeah.
And I'm just a sales guy. So,
Okay.
I got into it because there's a local paper here called the Evening Mail. I filled in an ad for a job advert. I chased a job. And just started selling safety products back in the 80s, and it moved on from there, really. PPE, everybody knows now.
Yes.
So, we don't really have to explain what it is. And that's become the sort of lead phrase for what we do, what we make, what we sell.
The staff numbers that you gave me just now, were those numbers in place already before the pandemic hit?
To a large extent, yes. Our headcount when we were at West Bromwich was broadly the same. However, our headcount in the Netherlands has gone up post-Brexit.
Okay.
Because all of the business that we were serving from the UK into mainland Europe, if you like, was from the UK. It's now served directly from the Netherlands. So our staff numbers have moved a little bit, but certainly there's no significant head count increase as a consequence of the pandemic.
So to the pandemic real, did it impact your business?
Yeah, certainly changed our lives. It was probably the most challenging time anybody in the trade will have had. So for a good 18 months, we were crazy busy. We were securing product. Most of our production partners are in the Far East, so we were having supply chain challenges as well, because you would have stuff stopped and started and all of the rest of it. And then we were just trying to do everything we could do to help serve people. There were times when we were getting phone calls from doctors in tears, nurses in tears. We were having people delivering products all the way around the country, most of which was for free. We were just trying to get products out into the market for people. So, yeah, it was a really interesting time.
So can I dive into that? Because as a board then, you'd sit down, the announcement came from Boris, and you get, as a board now, you're in the middle. PPE was the one thing that the country was almost up in arms about, and you're there right in the middle of that. What happened in that board meeting? Well, how did you sort of deal with it?
Sort of. So we had weekly emergency meetings, if you like. So every Monday, and we were all working every single day.
So you never stopped.
We'd all got exemptions, of course, because we were providing.
We
were a critical producer. So I suppose it's right to say we supplied nothing to central government. The whole market needed products. So we have a lot of distributors across the UK who were serving their local markets. We have lots of overseas customers as well who were equally trying to serve their local markets. So for us, it was about trying to serve our customer base in the best way we possibly could, whilst at the same time making sure that we were helping anybody who was crying for help, which is what we did. But yeah, we managed. It was crazy. There were lots and lots of long days and nights trying to get product in and out. And I think we're pleased with how it ended up. And given, we're quite a conservative business, fourth generation families tend to be. So the fact that, we're not going to appear on any broadcast or our name won't be associated with something is really important to us. But doing the right thing for our customers was equally so. So, we just put a lot of time and energy into making sure we could serve our existing customer base.
Supplying free product. Now, for personally thinking about how an organisation can survive, because you have the costs of either buying or manufacturing that product and then taking a decision to supply that free. That's a big call, isn't it?
No.
Wow.
Because it wasn't enormous quantities.
Okay.
This is emergency stuff for people who were desperately seeking product.
Yeah.
I could tell you some stories, not sure how far to go with them, but desperately seeking product from the health sector who find the number of the business and say, look, I need some stuff now. I can't get visitors onto site. Please help me.
So was it almost like life and death?
It was. We were just taking calls because people at that time were looking for products all over. There clearly wasn't anything coming through their normal channels at that stage. So I'll give you a real quick example. One morning, somebody got put through to me. It was a doctor. Her name was Wendy. She was looking after some kids' hospices in the southwest, and parents couldn't get in. So one of our sales ladies drove up, filled her car with some products, drove back and spent the next 2 days delivering it in Devon and Cornwall. The value of the product is quite small, really. They're low value product. So for us, we were just reacting to need. There weren't thousands of these, but when people came through to us, you can't not do the right thing. That's what life's about.
Wow. I mean, this is a business podcast. This is about understanding the decisions that are made on a day-to-day basis, risk-taking in organizations, financial cash flow, and all that sort of stuff. And so what you're saying in the pandemic, almost all of that business sort of decision-making became secondary because of the pandemic was so human and the potential loss of life.
In part, but it wasn't an enormous lump of what our regular business is.
Okay.
So don't think for 1 minute it was, double-digit percentages of revenue. It wasn't. It was where there was an emergency, were we able to help people out? And again, the product's fairly low value. Adjacent to this, of course, we were doing normal sales to our normal distribution markets.
So you still had a thriving business.
Of course, yeah. It wasn't. Yeah. So don't please read into that we were so philanthropic. We were doing everything in that direction because it was serving emergencies in that regard. Everything else that we were doing was regular business, securing product, serving our customers in the best way that we could during that period.
Wow. I'm still very humbled by some of the things you've been saying. It's pretty amazing. So what does the future look like for you guys?
So I say we've relocated. We've got great owners. So we have a fabulous family shareholder, and it's all about growth. It's all about extending what we do. We've just recently launched a new product, which is all about sustainability, recycling. So much of the product type that's sold into our sector ends up in incineration or landfill. So, we're focusing heavily now on sustainability.
Can you explain a little bit more about that sustainability? So a particular product maybe, and how you're changing the model of how that would work?
Yeah, okay. So we're launching a new product, which is called EnviroWear. It's a high visibility product, and it's 100% recyclable. So the idea is that it's made from rPET. There are lots of people who do...
What's that product? What
so recycled polyester.
Okay.
There are lots of people who would tell you that in life now that jacket's made of 6 plastic bottles and something else, but it's got a small proportion of it which is recycled or organic cotton or whatever it would be. What we've said is actually that still has an end of life, and at end of life it will still go to incineration or it will still go to landfill. What we're trying to do, we've set up a product now, and we're part of the Circular Textile Foundation. So when the product becomes end of life, it goes back into a fully recyclable process.
Wow.
So it comes back out as yarn again and is made into another garment. So we're trying to focus heavily on sustainable product, but it's not from a greenwashing point of view. We want to make sure that product is fully circular. And that's where we're heading.
Is there a logo? Is there a stamp? Is there something that you could recognise?
Yeah, there is. So there's something that we call an infinity mark, which will be on the product.
Okay.
There will also be a QR code, which will enable you to say what you want to do with that product, how you want to get it back. And we're also working with the waste organisations, because there's a big role for those guys to play as well in ensuring that the product goes back through this circular process and doesn't go to the traditional, landfill incineration route.
And is that widespread in your organisation in terms of everybody's wanting to play their role in this sustainability ability?
I think, we won a couple of innovation awards for the EnviroWear product, and whilst we were doing so, we did a video. And we just went round the business asking people what sustainability meant.
Oh, great idea.
And, most talked about their children or their grandchildren, in truth. So, we've got to have one eye on all of that, really. So, yeah, it's fair to say as a business, we've got to recognise it. But as a world, we've got to, and certainly our market needs to. The pandemic has driven a massive amount of waste and wastage as well, of course. So, we need to encourage everybody to go circular.
Does that bring with it higher costs?
A little bit, yeah. So
you just have to bear those?
There's an offset in some of this. There's a consumer cost as well, of course. So, but you see that all the time in our normal purchasing habits now. If you'll go on an app and you'll see, do you want to make this order green, and you might pay a bit more for it or whatever term they put to it. So, I think there has to be a recognition, but also there's a limit. It can't be 3 times the cost or something. There has to be a limit. Sure. There's a limitation on what people can afford. So, we've tried to be very measured when we've been designing the product to make sure it's still within the field of acceptability on price.
If people were looking to have a conversation with you about wanting to be a customer of yours or wanted to talk to you, can they find you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
We've been driving. We did a rebrand a couple of years ago as well, so we've been pushing hard on the visibility. So it's not difficult. We don't supply consumers, so we're a pure business to business through distribution models across the world, which is what we do, how we operate. But we're very easily found and can support.
How many countries do you operate in?
Not counting them recently. I want to say 36, but I don't know why that's the case. So the furthest we would go is New Caledonia. We do a lot of business into Ghana, South America. Most of the European countries we would supply product into. So we're pretty broad. There are limitations, so you have differing legislation and differing standards by continent, if you like. So, in North America, there's a very different performance standard for the product as there is for Europe. So we always have to be mindful of the local standards because products have to be compliant. They have to meet the legislation, the requirements of the country.
I'm very conscious that as somebody whose title is commercial director, is that correct?
We call them officers now. They're all a bit swanky. Chief Commercial Officer.
Okay. So in terms of your role in dealing, because I'm guessing you have to deal with things like contracts, you have to deal with commercial arrangements in terms of the numbers that you supply, the cost of that, and making sure it's profitable, and then sales teams, so physical people. It is actually a number of roles rolled into one. It's not just you're going out selling.
Oh, crikey. So the way we spread within the business, so we have a chief operating officer who picks up purchasing and operations. So I pick up all as I said earlier, the front end stuff. So it's all marketing and it's all sales. But there's commerciality into everything that we do. So all of the deals that we write, all of the agreements and contracts that we sign, all have to stand on their own merit, and they all have to have that commercial requirement.
If you could go back now to, and I don't know what age this would be, it might be 10, it might be 15, it might be 30. What do you think were the real bits of experience that's enabled you to do what you do today clearly at a senior level? Is anything you look back on and think, that put me in good stead, that?
Parents.
Okay.
Examples,
wow.
People you follow, people you look up to.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm just a sales guy. So, it is about trying to be out there, trying to work hard, trying to have passion. If I think back to how I started in sales, I just wanted to do more than anybody else who was likely to go to the interview that I went to.
Okay.
So I was in my late teens. I researched the company, the safety products company, as much as I could. I got past the first interview, and I then thought, how do I get past the second interview? I did more research, and I fell upon somebody who wanted some product. So I pretty much took an order to my second interview. And I tell my kids this all the time. It's just important to want to do more than the next person. So when the chairman of this company said, how long do you think it would take to get your first order? I said, well, how about now? And that was it. So I've always just tried to do stuff with passion, with energy, with some determination, really. But they're characteristics everybody's capable of having. They're not unique.
If you were able to round up pretty much all of your client base and have a sustainability type conversation with them, would you find that half of them it would be easy, half of them it would not? Or is everybody, do you feel now, starting to come on board with, we need to be starting to do things differently? Do you feel that?
At a headline level, I think they'd all say the right thing.
Okay.
I think if you sort of look beneath the waterline a little bit and see what's going on, about a third would probably have some real meaning to it and be fully behind it. The other 2/3 would recognise that it was necessary to talk about it today, but were they really doing the right things? I maybe would question.
Wow. And I think that's really interesting for any business operators out there, any aspiring business owners, that actually starting off at the right footing with any business, because once you start to go down a road, you've then got to come back and change. And so starting off with the right structure, the right information, the right advice, the right goal is amazing for all of us in business to make sure we are starting out on the right footing. If you were able to give a piece of advice today to any aspiring business owner or controller who's just about to go into business, is there anything that you could give? What, if anything that you've heard that you think is a really good piece of information?
Honesty is rather important. So I would always say do the right things every day.
Okay.
You get to an age and you realise that there's not a lot of new things in the world.
No.
So most things you've come up against at some stage. Morals, ethics, honesty. Those are the real key things. It's not about trying to do something quickly. It's about trying to do it right.
Patience.
Yeah.
So we talked earlier about the future and what the future holds. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I think as a business, we face exactly the same challenges as so many other employers. It's about how do we engage with the next generations, the millennials, the Gen Zs, if you like. How do we become an attractive employer for those groups of people? And we talk about this all the time. How do we reduce the age of our workforce? We're sat here at the Steam House. We've started to build some recruitment links with BCU. So we've got a couple of super talented ex-grads who've joined us recently. So it is about once you
call them superstars, don't you?
Oh, there's really bright things. Some of them are different capability. I said I'm just a sales guy. So we're really bringing in a different skill set. But how do you keep that skill set? How do you grow that skill set? And how do you be the right type of employer today? The other thing is as well, for me, the trade, you'd call it, it's MPS, it's male, pale and stale. Okay. So we've got to move. We've got to move with generations, with diversity, with ensuring that we have the right blend of mix across all of our businesses.
Are you finding it tough in terms of retention of people, or are you actually quite good?
We haven't relocated as well. We haven't really suffered. I've got to say. I think when economies struggle, and the UK will do so as well for a year or so now, I think people tend to stick a bit longer as well. But for us, the key is how do you get the bright young things and retain them?
Okay.
It's easy to lose them after a couple of years, but how do you get 3, 4, 5 years out of these people? How do you get succession to come through your business as well? So those are challenges that we will all face into in the coming years.
And when we talk about retention, there is another 2 areas of engagement and recruitment. So those 2 areas are pretty special for most organizations to need to make sure that they're engaging with their teams. Do you find as an organization that you're quite good at that? Does it come quite natural for your business to engage with its team members? We've
one of our key values is teamwork.
Okay.
So we sit very much with ensuring that we generate high performing teams. Then they aren't always, but it's important to try and adopt that type of culture. And in terms of recruitment, I referenced we've got a couple of people from BCU. Yeah. Since we moved, we've engaged with all of the universities local to us now. The workforce is getting younger for the region as well, which is a good thing. Uh-huh. There are many more graduates who are staying up here. They're not all disappearing back to London, so that helps a lot. So yeah, I think I'm pretty positive about our recruitment plans for the future.
What a great note to end. You're very positive for the future. It's fantastic. And we don't hear that very often. So thanks so much for ending on a positive note today. It's been fantastic to hear your insights into the business and certainly you and how you got into business. Thanks so much for coming in, Darren. It's been amazing. British Business Podcast viewers and listeners out there, until next time.